All right, how you guys doing today? Today's chapter is going to be Luke chapter 22, read in the NIV. But first things first, like the video. But yeah. Enough of that. On to Luke 22, right? You guys can pick through all the little songs you listen to and try to hear what you can hear to hear God in that song and try to relate it, right? That was really a background song. Like I said, I think I just came back from the bathroom or something and I heard those lines. I was like, God. But Luke 22. New International Version, NIV. Now the festival of unleavened bread, called the Passover, was approaching, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12. And Judas went to the chief priests and to the officers of the temple guard and discussed it with them how they might betray Jesus. They were delighted and agreed to give him money. He consented and watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them when no crowd was present. Then came the day of the unleavened bread on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and make preparations for us to eat the Passover." "Where do you want us to prepare for it?" they asked. He replied, "As you enter into the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house that he enters, and say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is the guest room where I may eat Passover with my disciples?' He'll show you a large room upstairs, all furnished. Make preparations there." They left and found things just as Jesus had told them, so they prepared the Passover. When the hour came, Jesus and his apostles reclined at the table, and he said to them, "I've eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer, for I tell you, I will not eat it again until it finds fulfillment in the kingdom of God." After taking the cup, he gave thanks and said, "Take this and divide it among you, for I tell you I will not drink again from the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." And he took the bread and gave thanks and broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you. But the hand of who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to that man who betrays him." They began to question among themselves which of them it might be who would do this. A dispute also arose among them as to which of them was considered to be the greatest. Jesus said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table, or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I'm among you as one who serves. You are those who have stood by me in my trials, and I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me." Just gonna get a little definition of confer. Bestowed upon, grant to. So I bestowed on you a kingdom, just as my Father has bestowed one on me. Cool. "So that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Simon, Simon, Satan is asked to sift all of you as wheat. But I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers." But he replied, "Lord, I'm ready to go with you to prison and to death." Jesus answered, "I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times that you know me." Then Jesus asked them, "When I sent you without purse, bag, or sandals, did you lack anything?" "Nothing," they answered. He said to them, "But now if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It is written, 'And he was numbered with the transgressors,' and I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, what is written about me is reaching its fulfillment." The disciples said, "See, Lord, here are 2 swords." "That's enough," he replied. Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down, and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he rose from prayer and went back to the disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray so that you will not fall into temptation." While he was speaking, the crowd came up, and the man who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He approached Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus asked, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" When Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, they said, "Lord, should we strike with our swords?" And one of them struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. But Jesus answered, "No more of this." And he touched the man's ear and healed him. Then Jesus said to the chief priests, the officers of the temple guard, and the elders who had come for him, "Am I leading a rebellion, that you have come with swords and clubs? Every day I was with you in the temple courts, and you did not lay a hand on me. But this is your hour, when darkness reigns." Then seizing him, they led him away, and took him into the house of the high priest. Peter followed at a distance. When some there had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and had sat down together, Peter sat down with them. A servant girl saw him seated there in the firelight. She looked closely at him and said, "This man was with him." But he denied it. "Woman, I don't know him," he said. A little later, someone else saw him and said, "You also are one of them." "Man, I am not," Peter replied. About an hour later, another asserted, "Certainly this fellow was with him, for he's a Galilean." Peter replied, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered the words that the Lord had spoken to him. "Before the rooster crows today, you will disown me 3 times. He went outside and wept bitterly. The men who were guarding Jesus began mocking and beating him. They blindfolded him and demanded, "Prophecy, who hit you?" And they said many other insulting things to him. At daybreak, the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priests and the teachers of the law, met together, and Jesus was led before them. "If you're the Messiah," they said, "tell us." Jesus answered, "If I tell you, you will not believe me. And if I asked you, you would not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the mighty God." They all asked, "Are you then the Son of God?" He replied, "You say that I am." Then they said, "Why do we need any more testimony? We've heard it from his own lips." So, all I want to do is go back to verse 46. I want to go back to verse 46 and just, get a little into, "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray so that you will not fall into temptation." Now, Jesus obviously knew he was going to get betrayed. He knew what his destiny was. He was praying, "God, let this cup be taken away from me." And he expected the disciples to be praying as well so they don't fall into temptation. Now, what kind of temptation? I don't particularly know. But I know he's saying, "Why are you sleeping?" They were sleeping when they're supposed to be praying. And this resonates a lot with me, as I typically pray before I fall asleep. Like, as I'm going to sleep, I say my nightly prayer. And sometimes my brain moves a little bit all over the place, whatever. And I just get into random thoughts, and then that's usually how I get to sleep, is by having my random thoughts. But like, I kind of have a one-on-one conversation with God, like kind of like a friendly talk of me and God, right? The same way I talk to my dad, because I'm just like, I tell you about my day, tell you I love you, thank you for this gift of life, Not this is stuff I don't say to my dad, but I say to God. But like the same way I would talk to my dad, like I'm running jokes about my day, whatever. I'm having a joyful conversation with God. But my brain starts moving, and then I get off topic. I'm like, okay, wait, I just said this thing, and that kind of relates to this, and then I'm thinking about a whole other thing, and then I get my mind off from prayer, and I'm like, oh wait, dial it back, get back into prayer. But I'm also laying down under my covers with this at the same time, right? Because I'm like, oh, I'm 2-in-1ing. I'm gonna pray, and as I'm praying, I'm like, oh, by the time I'm done, I'm gonna be like halfway on my way to sleep, because it takes me, it takes the body a little bit to go straight to sleep. I don't know anybody that can just hit the bed and go straight to sleep. So I'm like, all right, I pray. By the time I finish, my body's like halfway adjusted to getting ready to go to sleep, and I'm maximizing my time. But I have so many hours in the day that I spend doing nothing, that I'm eating and watching YouTube, that I'm playing a game on my phone. Useless time, vain time. And I can't even stay up a little later to give some time to God, to say my prayer, to finish my prayer, to say it earnestly, in full sincerity, and speak to him, have a conversation with him about my day, where I fell short and how I can improve, and how I need his love in my life to keep going. That these battles I'm losing are because I'm not submitting enough, not denying my flesh enough, I'm not loving him enough. So this verse really resonated with me. The temptation, I don't really know what it is. And I guess that'll be my research topic for tomorrow while I'm at the gym. I'll try to find some video that I'll watch to see what kind of temptation it could have been talking about. A little sermon, perhaps. And yeah. And I hope you guys like the little stories and tidbits that I share. So like, obviously the last video was like a whole dedicated story to something I'd seen God in. But then like the beginning of this story was like, oh, I was talking with my friend, and then we were talking about God, but we seen God in this, right? So I hope you guys like that kind of thing, because I think it's pretty useful. At least I'm a very application heavy person, so like when I read the word, I want to see something that I can go, all right, I took this away from it, let me apply that to my life tomorrow or right now. Like, why are you sleeping? Get up and pray so you won't fall into temptation. I'm not gonna get in my covers and pray as I'm trying to fall asleep as well. I'm not gonna 2-in-1 it. I'm gonna focus, give all my attention to God, say that prayer, and then focus on going to sleep, because I shouldn't worry. I don't need to worry that I'm going to be tired the next day. If I say my prayer to God, everything's going to take care of itself the next day, because God said it will. He's going to do everything to make sure I'm chilling, right? All right, that's going to be the end of the chapter. Hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.